Some people may vaguely recall the name Willowbrook in connection with some kind of a scandal in the early 70s that was exposed by the investigative reporting of Geraldo Rivera. But for those who lived there, it was a day-to-day struggle to survive.
I visited the state institutions for the mentally retarded, and I think particularly at Willowbrook that we have a situation that borders on a snake pit, and that the children live in filth, but many of our fellow citizens are suffering tremendously because of lack of attention, lack of imagination, lack of adequate manpower. There's very little future for the children or for those who are in these institutions.
I was a medical doctor at Willowbrook. I was brought to Willowbrook for the first time on my pediatric rotation during my internship.
There are 5,300 patients at Willowbrook, which is the largest institution for the mentally retarded in the world. The ones that we saw were the most severely and profoundly retarded. There are thousands there like that, not going to school, sitting on the ward all day, not being talked to by anyone, only one or two or three people to take care of 70 people on the ward, sharing the same toilet, contracting the same diseases together. 100% of patients at Willowbrook contract hepatitis within 6 months of being in the institution. Most patients at some time in their life have parasites. The incidence of pneumonias is greater than any other group of people that I think exist in this country.
It quickly dawns on you that this is an operation which is for the purpose of housing people without a plan for their life, just as the cliche goes, a warehouse for human beings. It was very overt. You didn't have to think much to figure that part out. They were just sitting there. There's nothing to do all day, just sitting there and rocking.
I first heard of this big place with the pretty sounding name because of a call I received from a member of the Willowbrook staff, Dr. Michael Wilkins. The doctor told me he'd just been fired because he'd been urging parents with children in one of the buildings, building number 6, to organize so they could more effectively demand improved conditions for their children. The doctor invited me to see the conditions he was talking about, so unannounced and unexpected by the school administration, we toured building number 6.
There was a big entrance at Willowbrook where the cars could come, and they had security people checking, and they were not going to let us on the grounds. But it's a huge place, many, many acres, and so we simply parked on the periphery, and there was this stone fence, and we vaulted the fence, and we ran the 200 yards to the nearest building, and easily got in.
There was one attendant for perhaps 50 severely and profoundly retarded children. And the children, lying on the floor naked and smeared with their own feces, they were making a pitiful sound, a kind of mournful wail that it's impossible for me to forget. This is what it looked like, this is what it sounded like, but how can I tell you about the way it smelled? It smelled of filth, it smelled of disease, and it smelled of death.
When I stepped into that ward and threw open that door with my stolen key, it was the defining moment of my life. People need humanity. They need the spirit of compassion. They need to be loved. They need to be able to fulfill their potential, whatever their potential is, however limited or infinite their potential might be. They need an option. They need the opportunity to realize human potential.
How long have you been at Willowbrook?
18 years.
How long were you given physical therapy in school?
5 years.
Are you still going to school?
No,
Why?
I'm over age.
You're too old?
Yes,
Would you like to go back to school?
yes, I
What would you want to learn if you went back to school?
growing up my reading more.
Learn how to read.
Right.
Some of the residents at Willowbrook weren't even supposed to be there. At the age of 3, Bernard was misdiagnosed as being mentally retarded and was placed at Willowbrook. He remained there for 18 years before it was discovered that he, in fact, suffered from cerebral palsy. He was physically, not mentally handicapped.
It's hard to express myself at that time because I was never encouraged on look at yourself. You're bright, you're mean, or you're very intelligent. And it was frustrating because it was like living in hell. There was no privacy. It was like living in a concentration camp. I've been beat up so many times when I lived at Willowbrook. I got beaten with sticks, keychains, keys. They kicked my head through the wall. I mean, you name it, I had it.
Eventually, Bernard was released from Willowbrook. Subsequently, he was appointed to a consumer advisory board whose job it was to monitor the problems and improvements at institutions like Willowbrook.
I could have a real good education. I could have been a lawyer today. I've always wanted to be a civil rights attorney. If I felt the grad, I would not be a good contributor to our society. And no, I gotta go on with life. That's behind me. It gets a lot better from here.
Now, after all that you've gone through, do you think that you deserve the best?
You're damn right, I deserve the best. Yes, I earned it. Yeah, we all do. Not only me, everybody deserves the best.
We'll have people who are disabled all the time, and somebody will come up with a bright idea. Then maybe it's good if we put a lot of people together, and maybe a lot of folks who are disabled together in one place. And that'll save a lot of money. And the circle will be begun again of a place called Willowbrook. And I see it as a personal mission to make sure that that doesn't happen.
People with disabilities in general are no different than you and I. They just need a little more attention.
Thirty years.
30 years.
30 years.
30 years.
One voice.
One voice.
One voice. One voice.